Hi everyone. Hi everyone, we have Sarah here with us today, and I'm going to talk with Sarah about inspirational women in her life and career. Hi Sarah, do you want to give introduction of you first and then talk about
my name is Sarah Bednarz. I'm now retired from Texas A&M University. I'm a professor emerita, and I'm living in New Mexico. But I'm still a geographer.
It's nice to meet you. I remember we first met in AAG conference in San Francisco, but then you was AAG president.
Correct.
I'm sure you must know a lot of geographers during your career. And you start with some inspirational women geographers that influenced you first?
I can talk about two people who are wonderful. The first one I'll talk about is Susan Hardwick, who died several years ago, and she was a terrific mentor to so many women. And in fact, the American Association of Geographers Mentoring Award is named after her. It's the Hardwick Mentoring Award. And Susan was funny and enthusiastic and friendly and brilliant, and helped so many women just by her personality. And she was about 10 years older than I was, but I was an older student because I had a career as a teacher for a long time as well. But she and I just hit it off the first time I met her, and she did everything she could to help me, to give me advice, to write recommendations for me, and to tell me what I should and should not do in relationship to many things, professionally and personally. And Susan was a cultural geographer, but she had always been interested in teaching and pedagogy. And she was one of the first women to actually do research in how to encourage women in geography, as well as other kinds of cultural geography research that she did, ethnographic kinds of work. She, along with Ricky Sanders, an African-American geographer from Temple University, and several others, had a large National Science Foundation grant and developed a curriculum project called Finding a Way. And this was focused on women and education, and it was designed to create curriculum materials that could be used in classrooms K-12 in the United States to encourage women in the discipline of geography. So she was a trailblazer in so many ways. Susan Hardwick, wonderful woman, died too young, way too young. The second person I can talk about is a well-known economic geographer by the name of Susan Hanson. Both of these people are Susans. Susan Hanson was a professor at Clark University for many, many years. She got her PhD from Northwestern, and she and her husband, Perry Hanson, were both geographers. Her original research, or what was special about her, was that she really was one of the first people to look at women in economic geography. How is it that women have different geographies than men? And her research was trailblazing in so many ways. She was also a president of AAG for a period of time. And what she did for me personally was she had a large curriculum development project called The Human Dimensions of Global Change. This was the early 1990s. So this was really very trailblazing again. And she invited me to come to workshops at Clark University in the summer to help with the pedagogy and kind of teaching strategies component to help university professors who were experts in their subject matter but didn't know about teaching and curriculum. And Susan just helped so much with that. And she was just very nice to me and very personable, and a real role model, both professionally again and personally. So Susan Hardwick and Susan Hanson. Now, there are many other women I've worked with who gave me great advice, but those two I would really highlight.
Thank you so much. So personally, one of the first geography books I read was edited by Susan Hanson about 10 rediscovered geography.
Yes, yes.
That was the book like in my early days that was like, wow, that was geography what it can do, because in Chinese school geography when we started off, we didn't know much about what geography could change the world in this way, because in the textbook it's not usually organized in this way. But it was reading that book makes me like, I'm not going to transfer into English department, I'm going to stay in geography department.
Very
Yeah.
good. Good decision. Yeah, Susan. And she's really good at encapsulating ideas in very easy to understand kinds of writing. So she's not jargon laden. She's not, really postmodern in terms of her language and construction of stuff. She writes simply, directly, and communicates clearly.
I think it's also, we can see also, for me, I would say, I can also see that in your writing too. I remember that you were leading in the writing of the roadmap to geography education, if I remember it correctly. Like, can you tell me a bit more about like why you write this kind of like roadmap initiative?
So it's been 10 years since we published Roadmap for Geography Education. So that's 2013 to 2023. And the roadmap was a large-scale, again, National Science Foundation funded project led by the geographer at National Geographic Society, Danny Edelson. And the idea was we needed to kind of once again come together as a discipline and talk about how can we improve the quality and quantity of geography education. So I was part of the group that headed up the research in geography education component of the project, but there were two other components as well. One was assessment, and the other one was instructional materials and curriculum materials. And it was such an honor to work with a great group, again, of women. I worked directly with Susan Heffron and Diam Hun, who is in Canada now, and then Danny Edelson and some other wonderful people worked on the assessment. And then the two women, Audrey Mohan and Emily Schell, did the instructional materials component of it. And it I think has been underutilized, but I still think it was an opportunity for us to examine where we are and where we want to go. So it's kind of future-oriented, future thinking, which is important for a discipline to do every once in a while.
Yes, I agree. I think it is the time that for people to look at this roadmap and can see what is going on and what has changed and how we kind of like adjust it in our navigation. But I would say when you designed the roadmap, you didn't imagine people take it as a cooked recipe. It'd be kind of like a framework for people to provoke their thoughts and what they want to do with it. They can gradually personalize their roadmaps for geography education across different contents.
Yes, I wish that it had come at a time. I mean, David Lambert was part of the research committee, and it was at a time when he was just beginning to become more involved with his whole concept of powerful
knowledge.
Yeah, and I wish that he had incorporated more of that into the final publication, because I think there have been two kind of competing models. So powerful knowledge really has kind of like taken off in geography education, partially in the United States, not as much in the United States as elsewhere. So that's my only regret. I think that those have become kind of competing frameworks, and I wish that they'd been able to unite and become more unified.
Yes, but I think it is good to show kind of like difference with competing sources, because when readers see this, they know they are only two of many ways to interpret like geography education. It's good to know something from powerful knowledge, also good to know something from 21st century skills, and then try to see what part of them would work in their context, what in their classroom. Because I think another idea from David Lambert is that he developed this curriculum making model for people to imagine how you engage with the knowledge. And I think one of the really interesting things is that in your roadmap, the what it mentioned with the curriculum making a little bit too, because that was part of his contribution into it.
That's right. That's right. But what's interesting to me, and I hope this isn't off topic, but many people in the UK, particularly, thought that there was a overemphasis on skills and a de-emphasis on knowledge, content. And we never felt that here in the United States. We always felt that they were very well integrated. So a lot of that UK-centered anti-skills sentiment didn't translate well here in the United States. It's just different.
Yeah, I would say the same. It didn't translate that well in the Chinese context as well. I think it's because when David Lambert developed the framework, kind of curriculum framework, it's still very rooted in the English geography education history. That is why it couldn't be transplanted there in other contexts that easily. But it does provide a way to understand, oh, what could go wrong if you emphasize skills too much or you emphasize knowledge too much. It's kind of like a balance that teachers in the end need to make a decision. And then the road might be like provide a guidance for people to navigate around it. And there is other kind of like work I want to hear you discuss a bit more about is when in education. We have talked to you as a geographer, and what about you also as an educator? You said you spend time teaching before you return to academia. Were there any inspirational stories in your teaching career?
Well, I taught both middle school and high school, and I taught in Evanston, Illinois, and in a small rural town in Texas, and then in the town I lived in, College Station, Texas. And I taught from 1974 until 1988, so middle school and high school. And inspirational, I'll tell you, the best part about it is I still am in contact with students I taught in Hearn, in College Station, and elsewhere. And it's fun. We're Facebook friends. We email each other. And that's the best part about being a teacher is that kind of constant, or that kind of connection with human beings. They tell me I made a difference in their life. And I always say, you made a difference in my life as well. So, yep, that's the best part about it. I think the social engagements that are part of education are very important. But then I still get messages from people saying, I saw this and I thought of you as a geographer, as a geography teacher. And so it's very nice to stay in touch with your former students.
I think so. I had a similar experience that I went to Yunnan in summer to teach like a summer school there with students. And recently, one of the female students get in touch with me and said that she's going to visit London as part of the school, kind of like the summer school at her graduate school. And I was like, that was so kind of like the moment really hits me. You see that how you plan, kind of like you thought you were doing something that was your passion, and you see this kind of make a change for them, like, oh, I actually want to see the world. I want to explore a little bit more instead of accept what the society expects girls to do. That was really inspirational, and I'm sure there are a lot of students, like female students, have taken the geography classes. You taught them, they were like, oh, actually, geography is really interesting, and the world is my oyster too.
And I'll tell you something else. It's a personal story. Is that I had a wonderful PhD student by the name of In-Jung Jo, who is Korean at Texas A&M University, and as she finished her PhD, she had her first child, and she named her child after me. So the child's name is Sarah. Jisoo is her real name, Kim.
Yeah.
So that was very much of an honor, I think.
I think that must have shown you as such an inspirational woman to her too. Like, this is the way. I think this is a really good way to kind of like remember this. Like every time she sees her daughter Sarah, would think of you, like how much you have helped her and mentored her as a PhD supervisor, but also as a really, I would say, kind of as a senior kind of scholar in this way. Help her to go through with this. Also, a mentor role really important. And I'm so glad that from our interview, I get to know that how you get influenced by two Susans and many other amazing women, and also pass this on to next generation, to Injunju, and to maybe also to her daughter, Sarah. That's a very lovely story to know. And thank you so much. Before I end the recording, is there any other inspirational women just come to your mind and you want to share? Doesn't have to be geographer.
Too many to share right now.
I can start by this. Yeah.
Yes, I've been blessed by having many good colleagues. One person I will talk about is when I was in college, I went to a women's college named Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And there were two professors of geography. One was Dr. Peter Angus, obviously a man, but the other was Dr. Minnie Lemaire. And she was a longtime geographer. I mean, she was old when I was at Mount Holyoke, and that was 50 years ago. So she had come through the normal school kind of preparation. She got her PhD at Clark in the late 1930s, and she was such an inspiration. First of all, a woman teaching at a women's college, and then she showed all of us who were geography majors that women can do anything they want. And that was in between 1969 and 1973, so 50 years ago. And that role model was amazing.
Yeah. Please write down the name for me. I don't think I have ever heard of her. So
no,
I really
she's not
that.
Yeah. But I Minnie and then Lemaire, Lemaire, Minnie Lemaire.
Thank you so much. And what you just talked about with her reminded me that one of the first women geographers I knew in China was called Liu Enlan, and she was also teaching in women's college, and the first person started with women's college, a geography department.
Oh, amazing.
In Clark University for her master. And that, because when you talk about Clark University, I think one of the Susan were also from Clark University. And
Hanson.
There must be a lot of hidden women geographers I could search in Clark University.
That's a great idea. They really were innovative in terms of their openness to women. And it was always a co-educational institution. So
I think so. It's kind of like this generations of women kind of taking care of the younger scholars and trying to help them to grow, to go them further. I remember there was a really lovely poster of women feminists going on from the suffragettes, and gradually it had been a long way for we to come here. And many of us living at this time, they probably don't know all the histories, all the stories. I've known you for a while, but if I didn't ask this question, I wouldn't know the two Susans and know the Minnie and know so many things. And sometimes we just need to talk about this, talk about the inspirations, and to make us feel like it has not been a lonely journey, and we have got a lot of women geographers who have contributed quite a lot, and in the future we will have even more.
Thank you for having this project. It's important. The battle has not been won, and so we need to keep solidarity amongst ourselves and continue to push.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And is there any? And the last question would be is there any further word that you want to, final word you want to give to young geographers, probably the main audience of this video? What do you want to say to them?
Continue onward and upward. Don't give up.
Thank you. And the last message I want to say to our potential viewers is that just join us, and like what Sarah said, continue. If you want to nominate Inspirational Women, if you want to share with these stories, get in touch. This Mapping Inspirational Women initiative would just be a start. It won't end, but it is the inspiration journey that we can join and we can continue.
And be positive.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stop.